where are you ladies sitting right now?
We're sitting at Muller Field Station, which is owned by Finger Lakes Community College, and it's located at the south end of Honeyoye Lake.
And so tell us a little bit about what you do on the day to day. Like, what are your jobs?
We do a lot with K through 12 education. So a lot of the area public schools will bring groups of students here for field trips. So we might get something like a fifth grade like living environment class or like ninth grade AP biology. And we usually take the students canoeing and then do other programming like macroinvertebrate sampling, talk about water quality. So it's basically kind of like place-based learning where the students will come and will kind of meet the requirements of whatever class it is that they're in. But we talk a lot about like biodiversity and kind of just different aspects of the environment.
So how did you two, I guess you can answer one at a time, come to be in this position? Is this something that you're both like really passionate about and that you love doing every day? And like, how did you come to be in these roles and why?
So I guess to start, we're both Finger Lakes Community College alumni. So networking played a really large role in the positions that we have today. So we went through the conservation department. We both got degrees in that department. I got mine in natural resources conservation, law enforcement, and then you were environmental science. But yes, I mean, I've always grown up loving nature, being outside, and always wanting to share that passion with other people. So
yeah. And yeah, so similar start to our education at FLCC. I have a undergraduate degree in wildlife management and then a master's degree in sustainable natural resource management. And so I did a lot of different field work with really in wildlife management. And then I kind of moved back to this area. This is kind of where I'm from, and this job was available. And I just thought it would be really cool to come back to where I started everything.
Absolutely. And so tell us a little bit about this property, this place where you are. Like, what is it?
yeah, so well, there's a lot. I don't know how much to say. So this property was donated about 22 or 23 years ago to Finger Lakes Community College. It was originally owned by Emil and Florence Muller. This was their like summer chalet. They came here to enjoy the Southern Honeyoye Valley. But once FLCC acquired it, it became this research and education center. So not only do K through 12 students come here for field trips, we also have conservation students from FLCC come down here to take classes. We have a lot of community events. It's really used in a diverse way. So lots of different audiences come down here. We're adjacent to a silver maple ash swamp. So this wetland is really like the highlight of this place. So that's what we explore. That's what we introduce people to. And I'm going to stop there, I think.
Well, we'll delve more into it here in a minute.
Okay.
So that's perfect time, but we're going to talk more about it. So go ahead.
It is kind of cool because as Allie had mentioned, this was someone's home. So when it was originally donated to FLCC, it was still very much looked like a house. And now, as you can see behind us, it's kind of, at least the downstairs kind of morphed more into like a classroom atmosphere. So that set us up really well to hold all of the things here that we host. And then upstairs, there's kind of like a conference room. And that was kind of more like their kitchen and their living room area. So it has like a really cool, because it was built in the late 1960s, it's got like a really cool like 70s vibe up there. And they've still retained some of those features, which I think is really cool.
Oh, absolutely. And so some of the things that you have going on, I mean, it looks like a lot of programs. I mean, some of these pictures are from winter, some of them are from summer. I guess let's start with what is happening right now. Like what have you been up to?
Do you want to start and then I'll
Yeah. Winter is a little bit of a slower period, but we are trying to bring in more people to really enjoy this space in the winter because there's a lot of awesome stuff you can still do outside in the winter. So this weekend we have a 4-H club coming, and we're going to go outside and learn about animal tracks and sign in the winter. That's a great time to learn about that. And then we've brought in a couple different workshops and stuff that that you can kind of talk about.
Yeah, so as of last weekend, we had a nature appreciation and journal workshop, writing workshop. That was really cool. We also have this meeting yourself in silence retreat, and that's a mindfulness retreat that happens here. So we are trying to bring in more mindfulness events. I don't really know what to like capture that as, but it's like yoga based. It's I don't know. Yeah, mindfulness is the way that I best describe that.
I mean, listen, I love it because I've tried to do yoga like so many times and just failed, like epically fail. I'm one of those people that has like a hard time and just like sitting
Yeah.
and clearing my mind. I think I've gotten a lot better at it, but I think that those kinds of events are so cool. And you know, the people have the option to come and work on that. That's seems like it's a really this first of all, how many acres is the property? And what I was gonna say was it seems like there's so many different, it's like a multi-purpose
Yeah.
land, right?
Yeah, that's what it's turning into. Over the past, honestly, over the past couple of years, we've really introduced different disciplines to this space. So it's 48 acres, and
Wow.
it just, yeah, there's just the ability to host such a wide range of things like gardening workshops. Like we have kayaks and canoes. There's yoga that we can do under the pavilion. So, and then the indoor space is great for meetings and business retreats, whatever it is. So we're just trying to diversify and bring as many people here as possible. So
And so talking a little bit about the yoga classes, it looks like those are outside more in the summer probably. But
yeah.
can you talk to us about, like, I'm looking at, it looks like almost like a pavilion that they
Mhm.
do it under. Is that something that is open to the public, or how does that work?
That's a great question. So we're not technically open to the public. It's really an invite only basis. We do have these community offerings, and you know, there's plenty of opportunity to come here, but you have to like come for an event or for a field trip. So you can't just show up to the field station and start walking around.
Why is that?
I have had that same question. I don't know. So part of the property, most of the property actually is under an easement, a conservation easement with the Nature Conservancy. So
Gotcha.
I don't
Okay.
know if being open to the public goes against that at all, but honestly, we just don't, like, a lot of people, I think, who have never been here might think that we're like a nature center where we're
Right.
open like 9 to 4 Monday through Friday. And that's kind of not quite the case, and it's just never really operated like that. And I think a lot of it is there's never really been the staff for that as well.
Sure, sure.
Once you invite the public, then you have to maintain it, you know, with making sure that there's not garbage on the property and this
Right.
and that. And so it's really meant to kind of be operating as just like a almost like a little nature preserve, I guess.
Yeah, fair.
So we're not open to the public, but if we have an event and we want you to come, then please come.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So how do people find out, like, how does one go about getting an invite or finding out about events?
There's a few different ways that we spread the word. So Facebook, we have FLCC Muller Field Station Facebook page. We have an Instagram page. We have almost up and running a new flcc.edu Muller Field Station webpage, which is being
Ooh,
revamped. So that's going to be great because a lot of people don't have the social media accounts, and we're learning, like, you know, that's not fair to just post there. We also have a monthly newsletter, and yeah.
And then just
Oh,
kind of,
e-news.
yeah, just kind of in the college network, the college community, we also have some, we'll distribute information through like the employee newsletter. There is a newsletter that goes out to, because we work a lot with Gemini teachers in public school districts. We'll pump information out to them. So we've got a couple different platforms where we try to get that information out to people.
Yeah.
I love it. I actually just followed you guys on Instagram. So
Perfect.
Cool.
now I'm following, I feel like I'm up to date on it. So talking a little bit about the it looks like kayaking and canoeing. It looks really, really fun and really pretty. How does that work? Do you have to, like, if someone's invited, do they have to bring their own kayak, or do you have kayaks, or what does that look like in a day when you go out and hit the waterways?
So we have approximately like 12 canoes, and then we have about 8 or so kayaks. And so they're available for people to use. You don't have to bring your own, but if people want to bring their own, they're certainly welcome to, and people do take us up on that offer too. So typically we have paddles, community channel paddles, that's what we call them. And they're scheduled for spring, summer, and fall. And there are a limited number of participants that are allowed to sign up for each paddle. We try to keep it nice and small, just because it's more meaningful that way. You can see more, and talk to the group.
And just for safety reasons too, I think we want to make sure that we keep everybody together and kind of are able to even just chat and have some nice conversation while we're out on the water. And then there's some really great, just natural things happening out there as well. I think a lot of people really gravitate, like if you're coming, you probably think it's fun to be out in the water, but then a lot of people like to learn about the ecology of what's happening. So we do have beavers and river otter, all sorts of cool birds. So if it's a smaller group, it's a lot easier to stick together so that we can also talk about those elements while we're out there, which is really nice.
Absolutely. And that kind of transitions perfectly into my next question. I was going to ask about the wildlife. You got a lot of birds, a lot of reptiles. I mean, there's a lot of there's a diverse ecosystem, right, happening. You talk about some of the cool insects or animals or reptiles that you've spotted while you've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can.
So we have a lot of trail cameras out on the property. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but it's just basically an little outdoor camera that operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as long as there's batteries in it. And so those are kind of staged throughout the property, and that's a lot of how we do a really passive wildlife observation. So there's things on the property that I've never seen with my own eyes, but we know they're there because of these forms of observation. So we have black bear, we have bobcat, we have coyotes, fox, we have fisher, definitely a couple different species of turtle. We got snapping turtles, painted turtles, and then tons of birds. We actually do something called Project Feeder Watch throughout November and April, where we're doing bird observation at like our bird feeders. So that kind of allows us to get a little bit of a species diversity. Not all birds are bird feeder birds, but we've got your standard, we'll see bald eagles, blue heron, and then of course the beaver and the river otter. So we've seen beaver here. I've seen them with my own 2 eyes, but the river otter, I've only seen the pictures on the cameras of them.
Yeah.
Oh my God, otters are so adorable.
They really are.
They're so cute. The babies, they're always like,
they
make these tiny little noises when you see them like being rehabilitated. Circling back around, you went real quick over black bears and bobcats. Say what? That's really so, like, when, how, and what, where? You know what I mean?
So what's cool is we get pictures of them on these trail cameras, like Chelsea mentioned, but we also see their tracks. So for example, I was here last week, there was like a teeny little snowfall, but there was enough for like really good tracking.
Yes.
And all on the dock, like right where our canoes are. I have pictures I can show you later. But there were bobcat tracks. So cool. So that's just another way that we know that these animals are here, and it's really fascinating and exciting.
It is. I mean, so for a couple of reasons personally, with the bobcats exciting, I went to Ohio University for journalism, and it was our mascot.
Oh, cool.
So bobcats, are they like a little, like, do they have an attitude, like they're a little nasty or not?
I don't think so. I mean, they're actually more elusive. Like,
Yeah.
part of the reason why we never see them is I think that, for one, I don't think they're just roaming around out on the day too. They're not roaming around during the day too frequently, but I think they're just like, they hear you before you would ever see them. So they're out of there. They want
They're like,
nothing to do
bye-bye.
with, yeah. Yep. So I'd like to think that they're just a friendly little wildcat. I don't know.
And that's a
We'd
really
like to-
nice way to look at that, because when I think of a bobcat, I think of a bigger version of my house cat, who is
Right.
a friendly animal. And oh my gosh, I wouldn't want
Yeah.
him to be any bigger than he is.
Yeah.
I picture bobcats being like
Yeah.
nasty. I don't know why, but that is so cool that you
Fierce.
saw
Yeah.
the tracks and
I
you were
guess
able
let's respect their space, definitely. Like, I wouldn't try to approach one, but
no.
yeah, I don't even think you can get that close to them. I think unless there's maybe something wrong with them, like they're sick or hurt or something like that. I think in most cases, when they are aware that you're around, they're just out of there.
They're not. They're smelling you and they're
Yeah.
hightailing it. They're literally probably hightailing it out of
Right.
there.
Totally.
So now the black bear. So I forget who told me, but because I don't know much about bears, but I think someone told me once that like something about different colors of bears, and it was sort of like a limerick where it was like, if it's this color or that, if it's white, say goodnight. Like if it's a polar bear, then it's a
Oh.
really mean bear. But if it's a
Oh,
brown, if it's a
interesting.
black bear, it's like not necessarily a
Mm.
mean bear. Like, am I wrong about that? Or
I think that's a funny
funny.
folklore. Like, is that
it's
folklore?
folklore? Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
it could
like,
be.
again, it's going back to the bobcat, and is it fierce? Like, is it aggressive? It's like, they're just, no matter what, I think if you come near those animals, like, they're gonna defend their territory.
Right.
Different, I guess, like, grizzly bears have a reputation of being really fierce and
Yeah.
really territorial, where you don't want to get near a grizzly bear.
Right.
So yeah, black bears can come in different kinds of color phases. So you might find a black bear that is more brown, or there's even like a cinnamon phase of a black bear. But black bear is a completely different species than your grizzly bear, which is also sometimes called a brown bear. So that's,
Yeah,
it's hard.
confusing.
Yeah, with these common names, the crossovers and the colors and stuff like that. Yeah, but generally a black bear is going to be a little bit more on the tamer side than a grizzly bear. And how we get in these situations with kind of maybe negative public or human interaction with these kind of larger animals is, a lot of it is just sometimes maybe being habituated to an artificial food source might get bad publicity for a black bear.
Yeah.
So generally, though, a wild bear that's not habituated to any sort of artificial food source or looking for something
Sure.
like that is usually just going to mind its own business.
I mean, fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, you kind of touched on the classes, which is so cool. I feel like this would be like one of the coolest places you could go on a field trip. Like, how fun would that be if you were young, you know? So talk about, it looks like based on some of the pictures you sent me, that there are people teaching classes, right? It looks like almost maybe in the room that you're, or a similar room. Talk about some of the classes that take place and who teaches them. And what do they teach?
Okay. So we have an ecology lab that comes down here every Friday. That is taught by Maura Sullivan. She's a professor at Finger Lakes Community College. So that's one of the classes. They do a lot of different field work down here, different research. And then we have fisheries, I was going to say, but you can say something.
Yeah. So we have a aquatic like research center next door as well. That was not originally part of the property, that was built after FLCC took ownership of it. And it's got like a little bit of a fish hatchery over there. So John Faust is our department chair. He's a longtime professor in the department, and he teaches the fisheries courses. And so the students will come when walleye are spawning, and they will do some work with walleye over in the hatchery there. And then we have a couple adjunct instructors that teaches courses that come here as well. I teach wildlife management. My class isn't here a lot, but we will come down here from time to time. And then we've got Erin Lord as an adjunct instructor within the department. She teaches field wildlife techniques. So these are like kind of things that you might use to survey wildlife, kind of really teaching the hands-on portion of wildlife management. And then Shannon, she's the technician in the conservation department. She kind of co-teaches field study of birds, which I think also uses this space as well, because we've got a lot of bluebird nesting boxes
Sure.
property. So I think that pretty much covers it. I mean, some other classes come down here as well, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I'm looking at the pictures. It's just such a nice, like, it's so beautiful, this
Mhm.
property, you know?
You have to
I
come
did-
down here.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna, okay, I'm coming. I'm gonna get invited. I'll come and I'll take some videos. I'm gonna see a bobcat for sure.
That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. I know it's just gonna be hanging out waiting for me. So I guess, okay, well, those are like my inquiries and my questions. I think I've learned a lot about what your mission is, what you're doing. It's so cool, so great that this resource is there for children.
Mhm.
What do you think that like I should have asked you about and I didn't? What are some of the things that you would like to add or talk about that you think is really important about what you're doing?
Something comes to mind to me right away.
Go for it.
That I think is important to mention, but I don't know how things work with your your organization. So I want to say that this is traditionally Seneca Nation land. That's just an important piece that we didn't say in the beginning. So I can actually type something up for you or give you a
No,
little bit more on that, but Seneca Nation land traditionally.
gotcha. I again would have no idea.
Yep.
And it is a beautiful piece of land. Anything else that you wanted to add?
Yeah, we also try to do a little bit with kind of broadening our scope now past just the public school. We're really trying to reach more diverse communities, and we're trying to add in some like homeschool groups and stuff like that. So we just want anyone and everyone and anyone to be able to come down here and enjoy the space, enjoy being in nature. It's a little piece of solitude, and I think that everyone should have access to that. So we're really trying to really jump into these other different areas of education.
I love it. I mean, and definitely like I know Lenore is awesome. Like she'll definitely let me know if there's any news. She's really on top of it. But like if there is anything that jumps up in your mind that like would be cool or interesting that you want to get the word out to people about, you guys I think have my email, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, there's one more thing that popped into my mind, which
Go for it.
we have a monthly presentation
Mhm.
series called a talk on the wild side. And we bring in different presenters from various backgrounds and expertises, and they come here and we have like that space upstairs, and that's where they give their presentations. Sometimes they can be held outside, but we do have we have 3 or 4 of them lined up. So we have the title of the presentation, what's going to be talked about. So that's something that would be cool if you can kind of share that with your audience too.